On this episode of AVSocial, we discuss how industry education can help keep AV dealers educated, help companies and individuals get their message across, help everybody in the industry renew their industry certifications, and let integrators know just what products and services you might offer. All that and more on AVSocial,
the network for the AV industry.
What are you listening to?
This
is AV.
This
is AVNation.
This is AVNation.
This is AVSocial episode 37, Two Birds.
Support for AVNation is brought to you by Crestron.
Hi everyone, this is Dawn Mead here with the latest AVSocial. Today we're going to be talking about education and marketing. There are currently over 11,000, I think they might even be up to 12,000 AVIXA CTS holders globally. Each of these certified technology specialists are required to maintain their sharp AV edge with continuing education and earning 30 CTS renewal units every 3 years. In addition to CTS RUs, the AV industry is quickly changing and evolving, and it's necessary for AV integrators and their staff to keep up to date on the capabilities of new systems, new technologies, new products for manufacturers. And it's important for manufacturers to keep their dealers and specifiers educated on what each new product and technology can do. On today's AVSocial, we're going to dive into AV education as a form of keeping connected with dealers and tech managers, and also as a way to market new features and benefits. With me, as usual today, is my lovely co-host, Kelly Perkins of NSCA. Kelly, say hi to everyone.
Hello. How's it going, everyone?
Very good on this end. And today we're joined by two special guests. First, Colleen Leith from Marketing Matters. Colleen, what's your title there? I can never remember. You're the owner, founder, or something like that?
All of the above. President is the title I use in my cards.
All right. President of Marketing Matters. And Lindsay Bull from Lexel. And Lindsay, what's your title at Lexel?
My title is tech writer, but I work on the marketing team. Yeah.
That's awesome. I like that. I think we did a show, it was either AV Week or this show some time ago about AV and architecture and decoration. So wonderful to have you. It's the first time I've heard that job title.
Thank you.
So let's get started. Question number one, I guess, in what way do organizations in our industry cater their education to AV integrators and tech managers? We have got a lot of it out there. How do organizations currently cater it to the integrators and tech managers? Anyone want to jump in with that? Colleen, let's start with you.
There's several different ways. At each of the shows, both at Infocom, ISE, and then various different roadshows that either manufacturers or distributors hold, they'll offer different types of certification or continuing education. Not all the manufacturers have had their classes certified, which boggles me because it's not that difficult of a process to work with the AVIXA to get those certifications. So I think there's quite a bit of education out there because, as you mentioned in the introduction, our industry changes almost on a daily basis. The technology is continuously evolving, and it's critical that the folks who work within the industry, both our integrators and the tech managers, are aware of those changes and interoperability issues and other such fun stuff to make sure their systems will work.
Right. Lindsay, what ways have you seen organizations using to cater their education to the AV market integrators and end users?
Sure, yeah. I can't speak too well for organizations generally, but for Lexel, the product is pretty technical, and there's varying ranges of education necessary to do different jobs. For an AV integrator, it's not quite as high as, we'll say, like an IT person. So we specialize our curriculum so that it's exactly what an AV integrator is going to need to know just to do their job. We don't want to make it too overwhelming for them. At the same time, we want to make sure that they have everything necessary to do their job efficiently.
Right. Kelly, do you have anything to add on that topic? I mean, you're working for one of the organizations now that offers education. how are you sort of targeting integrators and tech managers?
Well, it's interesting because working with the Ignite program, I'm trying to, and Ignite is to attract new talent to the industry, if you haven't heard of the initiative yet. But in order to attract young people and new talent, skilled talent into the industry, I've been looking at and researching all of the different ways of gaining education within our industry. And the manufacturer training is super important because you have companies like Cisco that you can't even buy their products if you don't have their training, right? Because they don't want people out there, integrating and designing systems that don't understand how to use the products. But then you have companies like Biamp and Crestron that also are really, really good at manufacturer training. And I think as a manufacturer, putting education on the forefront is so important because it actually, it really proves and reinforces your commitment to the industry and your commitment to good quality design projects.
Right. Well, so here's a question, and some of you may have gone through this as educators, some of you may have gone through this as organizations, but what is the process exactly for ensuring CTS, CEDIA, or other certification renewal credits, both from the I'm teaching a class, how do I get it certified end, and maybe how do I, if I'm a CTS holder, how do I find those credits? Jump in on either one of those questions.
Well, I've dealt with several different organizations with those in the past, and with both AVIXA and CEDIA, it's fairly easy to get your class certified. You reach out to the education department. They have some criteria. If you're missing some of it, you make some adjustments, and then you're able to offer those classes. And both of their websites do carry information about those websites, so it's easy enough to either just search it or go to the AVIXA site, go to the CEDIA site, NSC site as well, NSCA, excuse me, Kelly, and you're going to find a list of things available to you. One of the things that I've been involved in recently is the AVIXA Women's Council, and what we're doing is encouraging our networking sessions to include a short class that provides those education credits for the CTS holders, the CTD holders. And not every chapter across the country is doing it at every session, but those are another source of education available in your local area if you want to do something in person and along with some networking.
Right. Lindsay, what's been your experience in that, ensuring, your class is available for renewal credits or finding credits if you need them?
Right, yeah. I mean, for Lexel, we do want to make sure that we understand the technology's consistently evolving, and it's important for these people to stay on top of education. We're putting out new products pretty frequently, and it's necessary to get trained on every new thing, and we get that. So yeah, it's a constant effort for us to try to make sure that we are offering these credits as frequently as we can.
Kelly, I know you're still fairly new at your NSCA role. Have you run into the experience of people, manufacturers, or whomever coming to you to get classes certified, or you getting classes certified for renewal units for other certifications like CTS and?
Well, we don't really have any like accredited certifications other than our CSIP training. So we don't really have RUs per se as far as AVIXA or Infocom is concerned. I do know, because I do have my CTS, and I keep it up pretty, every 3 years. I've had it since 2009. And, I think I reached out to Infocom recently or AVIXA, sorry. And I reached out to AVIXA not that long ago, and if you're a certain type of member, whether you're an individual member of AVIXA or your organization or company is a member, they do offer a lot of free training, free online classes. I can't remember exactly which ones, but they do offer quite a few free ones, so you can do them online. kind of in your spare time or after work. So there is that option.
Right.
If you're looking specifically at AVIXA credit.
Okay. I'm going to go rogue for a second here off of our prepared questions, but we keep talking about InfoComm, CTS, or InfoComm, the show, AVIXA, the organization, CTS certifications, and those renewal credits. But it's 2018, and we're a much more diverse industry than we used to be. I know tons of fellow AV professionals have certifications like Lead AP, PMP, the various CompTIA and other IT industry certifications. And my understanding is a lot of those also have renewal unit requirements in order to maintain those certifications. I guess this is mostly a question for Lindsay, although Kelly and Colleen, I'm pretty sure you've both either taught classes or helped organize classes for different groups. What sort of actions or suggestions would you make for manufacturers, for potential faculty members, instructors, to reach out to some of these other organizations to get their classes sort of co-certified? Obviously, if you're teaching a fluffy marketing class, it may not be applicable to, say, a CompTIA renewal, but we have a lot of classes in our industry that cross over into the worlds of cyber security, that cross over into the worlds of IT, cross over into the worlds of management. Let's start with Lindsay on this, since you actually work for a manufacturer. Have you pursued any sort of cross approval for your classes for RUs?
That's a really good question, and I'm not sure I can answer that. And maybe this might be kind of I might be missing the question entirely, but we do try to, as a manufacturer, in this smart home industry, we have to kind of integrate well with other players in the industry. So it's important for us to, I'm not sure how to phrase this necessarily, but it's important for us to kind of offer the option for integrators to integrate other people's technology. So we try to play well with other Lutron, Crestron, Control 4.
Right.
Well,
I think all with others works. Go ahead, Kelly.
No, I was just going to say too, and I think a big part of this isn't really the question of getting credits for this or that, but just making sure that you as a manufacturer are taking the time to educate your customers on your products, and not even your products necessarily, but emerging technologies, things that can help them choose wisely, things that can help them, in somewhat of an unbiased way, really, really teach them what things that are actually going to help them in the field and help their businesses and help them succeed and make more money, and again, have great projects. So are credits important? Of course. Does AVIXA have a great program to start with? Yes. Does CompTIA have a great program? Yes. I mean, if you're a manufacturer, you should definitely get involved in any of those local chapters. Like Colleen said, getting involved in the AVIXA Women's Council, doing any type of local chapters where you have, the ability to teach at some of these association events and stuff. I mean, that's a great way to market to people, and get in front of a lot of people for probably not that much of a cost.
Right.
Oh, absolutely. It's really reasonable. We're basically looking for somebody at the AVIXA Women Council events to cover the wine and snacks. So it's a pretty cheap date to get in front of, 20 to 30 folks who are really interested in that topic. And, and it does, back to your question, Dawn, if I have a client whose products spill over into multiple verticals, such as, home for CBO channel, the commercial, and all the verticals associated with AVIXA, or IT products with, that would be applicable to CompTIA accreditation, it makes sense for them to do different classes and have those classes certified by the respective organizations, associations, and many times I find that they aren't aware that they have these opportunities. So it's really up to us to help spread the good word and help the
Mhm.
manufacturers, because it just really builds that industry momentum. And to everybody's point, everybody needs that education. It's our world is very dynamic.
Right, right, absolutely. I know I've taught classes before. I know Kelly has. Colleen, have you taught any classes before?
I
I thought you had.
yes.
Okay. Lindsay, yourself, have you
No,
stepped up to
not,
the podium, so to speak?
not yet. No.
Not
All
yet.
right. Well,
You're very welcome.
we'll goad you into it. I guess in the meantime, though, this question is more for sort of Kelly and Colleen. When crafting education material or presentations, what do you find is the biggest hurdle individually, or even in Lindsay's case, as part of marketing, helping someone else craft theirs? Colleen?
It depends on the presentation. Sometimes the hardest part can be getting some of the details that you need from other folks, on the technical teams, as you need to clarify some points and such. Um, Finding the time on top of the rest of your work is always one of the greatest challenges. I think we all face that. I'll be doing my presentations at 10 o'clock at night because I have to finish my day job first.
Right.
Right.
Those are some of the biggest hurdles. It's never really an issue to come up with a topic because there's so much to talk about all the time, whether it be a technical topic, a particular product, or a business topic.
Right.
Management, whatever. There's a plethora of material that needs to be shared and is continuously being updated. So,
Right.
that's not much of an issue. How about you,
Kel-
Kelly?
Yeah, Kelly, what have you found?
I mean, it's defining your audience, knowing your audience for sure is a huge deal, and making sure obviously that your content and your presentation is relevant and not, you're not speaking about a boring topic to the wrong people, right? But I mean, I guess my biggest hurdle creating presentations is just, I want to make sure that I'm not wasting anyone's time, that if somebody's going to take the time to actually sit through a class that I'm doing, that they at the very least get something out of it, right? So that's probably more of my insecurity than anything, but
I don't think you're alone there. I know that's one that I have as well. And to Colleen's point, getting the material and getting the right sources to help. And another one, guilty, just getting started sometimes. That, and not just
right.
finding the time, as Colleen said, but just taking that first couple of steps. If you're a natural born procrastinator, it can sometimes that can be a little challenging as well. So yeah, pretty much everything you guys said.
Right.
Lindsay, any insight from helping other people? I'm sure you in your marketing role, you've helped others put things together, or have you been called upon for that?
Yeah, absolutely. I work pretty closely with our sales training manager. We put out webinars, and then, he travels and does classes. And I know for him, in the live presentations, one of the most difficult things is, you're allotted 2 to 4 hours of time to cover a lot of ground. And on top of that, you have varying levels of skill in the classes. So you have guys in there that may be in the industry. This is their first exposure to IP networking equipment. You have guys that may have been doing it for 15 years. So in the 2 to 4 hours allotted, cramming enough that the basics get covered and there's enough value for somebody that's been doing this for 15 years is a really, really difficult thing to overcome.
Right.
But Jared does an incredible job. We get a lot of good feedback about our training. So that's always encouraging, knowing that you are doing decently well at it.
It is always good when you get that good feedback, because as Kelly said, there's a lot of insecurity, at least among every presenter I've ever talked to. And, are people going to find this interesting? Oh my God, am I going to be able to fit this in the allotted time? Oh my God, what if I start talking and I'm done in half the allotted time?
Sure, yeah.
Finding that balance. And, personally, I'm always a little surprised when I walk in the room and there are people even there. It's like, wow, okay, people wanted to hear this. So, yeah, it's sort of, I guess, a universal challenge. And if you're watching this and have the same challenges, give us a tweet and let us know, because we won't feel alone then.
Right.
I was gonna I was just going to also throw in there too. I think, and this isn't necessarily me personally, but in some of the past companies and organizations I've worked with, I think one of the biggest hurdles that us as an organization faced is finding good qualified trainers and being able to take them out of their day job to actually teach. Because a lot of the folks that are really, really, really good at that are also really, really good at their day jobs. And a lot of those hours are billable. So I think we just have to make sure, as manufacturers and integration companies, to value those people that are actually really good at teaching and training, and make sure that they're also teaching and training other folks, not just themselves. But
Right. Which is a really good segue to the next question. For those of you that are really good presenters, really good trainers, what are the benefits and drawbacks for presenting education at trade shows like CEDIA, ISE, and InfoComm Show? Kelly mentioned one, taking time away from your day job, because presumably if you're expert enough to get up there and blather about something for an hour or four, you are also expert enough to be in demand doing the thing, as opposed to just talking about doing the thing. Lindsay or Colleen, either one of you jump in. What do you find the biggest drawbacks or benefits to presenting?
Well, the time basic, definitely, if you're at a show and teaching 4 or 5 classes, that's a big chunk of your time at that show. So that, eliminates other things that you could be doing or need to be doing. Definitely one of the, so that would be on the negative side. On the positive side, it's really great to really get a better understanding of what folks' challenges are, and their feedback on the presentation, what type of education what other type of education would make sense for them, and what other needs that they have. So definitely advantages and disadvantages. The shows are hard enough, and if you're teaching a bunch of classes, that is a huge challenge.
Yeah, Lindsay, anything to add?
I think one of the obvious benefits is that there's a ton of people in one place at one time, and they're all interested in the information. So that, you get a big touch in a short period of time. But to that same point, there's a lot of people there. That includes all the manufacturers. So you're competing for those people's time.
Right.
And you just have to come to the table with kind of the most valuable stuff.
Right. Kelly, how
yeah,
about yourself?
I was just going to mention, I've never done it, but if you talk to folks at InfoComm, for example, that come in and teach those 3-day classes, that's a lot of time, right? And then potentially taking more classes or teaching more classes over the next couple of days. And again, reinforcing what you guys said, really, that they have to see the exhibits. There might be some classes they want to take. There's networking opportunities. They have to meet with people, this or that. There's just so much going on. So it's a lot of time and effort for folks to teach classes at these events. But to Lindsay's point, you get a really large draw of people at these events. So if you're going to do it, you could, kill 2 birds with 1 stone pretty easily. So.
Right. Yeah. So from a marketing perspective, it's a fantastic opportunity. It gets your name out there, your company's name,
Yep.
your technology or your products. And that is a huge benefit. A drawback, like you said, no time to actually sit in a booth or go to classes or teach other classes. It can be a major time suck. And anyone that's ever seen me running around InfoComm with my hair standing on end because I'm late for something, I always say it's not InfoComm if I'm not late for at least 3 things because of just that point. Personally, though, I think, and I know this is a marketing podcast, but I think the biggest benefit to presenting at the shows is more intrinsic than it is just being able to get my name or my company out there, because I've found, and maybe I'm weird and alone in this, but I found that I actually learn more teaching the topic or preparing to present the topic and interacting with the class members than I would otherwise. I found it made me better at my job and my technology, and I'm more of an asset for my company as a result. I think Albert Einstein said, if you can't explain something simply, you don't understand it enough. And so getting to the point where I can take a big topic and then break it down so that someone, as Lindsay said, that may be at their very first industry event, understands it and can comprehend what we're talking about. It gives me a greater understanding and makes me, I think, more effective. Anyone else find that, or am I just a weirdo?
No, you're right. You're right. I just did, jumped in a little bit on a class at AVSocial this last year, and I got a ton of feedback, which was awesome. And it's just nice to hear new ideas and different perspectives on topics that you're interested in too.
Right. Oh, well, we're running out of time here, but we got time for, I think, one last question. And let's start with Lindsay this time. But how do you find manufacturers balancing the educational needs of the audience with your marketing needs as the presenting organization? What's the biggest challenge there, or how do you balance that?
Yeah, so we want to make sure that there's value to both parties involved. And that can be difficult because obviously we want people to see the new products that we have and be really excited about Luxol, but without trying to be too product centric, just bringing the real value to them. People are going there, they're attending those trainings, expecting to actually learn. We want to teach them everything they need to know about IP networking to be effective at their jobs. If they then choose to become a lifetime Luxol customer, or even just a sometimes Luxol customer, then that's great. But it's more of as a manufacturer, you have to think of it more as a investment long-term, rather than, it's not a sales pitch. We're not there to shove stuff down people's throat. It's
a little more soft
time.
ROI than an infomercial then, right?
Yeah, exactly. Hopefully we come off that way.
Colleen, what have you found? Where's that balance point?
I think, the integrators certainly enjoy it as much as and get as much benefit, if not more, than the manufacturers even. The manufacturers, again, need to share that technology, that knowledge, yet the integrators can't do their job without it. So, regardless of the field, it's really critical. And with so many people in that one location, when we have our trade shows, it's really such a great opportunity. And everybody really wins from it.
Right. Kelly, what have you found?
Well, just hosting events as an integrator and working with manufacturers, and trying so hard to get them to send them in early and make sure they're interesting, because I don't want our end users or my old coworkers at AVI Systems to waste their time sitting in a really boring manufacturer presentation. And we've all been there.
Right.
You're ready to cut your head off after 25 minutes of sitting in the worst presentation ever. But there's also a lot of really good ones, right? And you know who those folks are. And I would say to, and I've tried to give feedback to manufacturers and just tell them can you please do something? Can you please do this? Or maybe you should do that without hurting their feelings. But honestly, you kind of know if the presentation is not going to be that great. And I would suggest hiring someone like Colleen or anyone to help you with that presentation, to create, hire a consultant, hire an agency, hire, Colleen or someone to just help you make it visually appealing. You know what I mean? And help consult and create that compelling story within your presentation so that it's worthwhile and not just you spewing out product and technical information to people. And it's not, what's up?
And that's where it makes sense to have a train the trainer. If this manufacturer doesn't have anybody that's experienced at training, it's such a worthy investment to take a train the trainer type course. Mm-hmm. And I know CEDIA had offered that in the past. I'm not sure if it's
offered it before.
That. Yes, and
when they were InfoComm, before they were AVSocial.
Right, right. We haven't had to drink too many times. And experience is. A lot of it comes down to just experience. So if that manufacturer doesn't have anybody experienced at training, those tend to be the not so hot presentations that unfortunately we've all sat through.
Right.
So.
And my last point, and based on something Kelly said, I'll hurt a few feelings. Sorry, just because it's my show at the moment. So listen, if you're a manufacturer and you're out there and you're putting together a presentation for a trade show, whether it's a industry magazine trade show, whether it's a distributor show, whether it's Infocom, ISE, CEDIA, insert name here, we love you. We value your education. And as Colleen said, we would love a dynamic, exciting speaker with great visuals. But even an exciting, dynamic speaker with great visuals, if we're just going to sit through an infomercial, we could visit your booth or read your brochure. Give us some technology, give us some general info that will be applicable across the board for our education, that is true education rather than just product info. And we'll remember you and your company, from the marketing end, because you've given us valuable info that carries beyond your borders. So that you play nice with others, as Lindsay said. It's very important that we want valuable info that's broadly applicable, not just here is my product, buy my product. So I think that's a key point to carry forward. At least it was when I was an integrator, and now that I'm an end user, that's the kind of stuff I'd like for my guys.
And if you can get credits from it, that's total bonus.
Absolute bonus. So contact AVIXA and all the other organizations that have certifications and see if you can't get RUs assigned to your classes. Excellent point, Kelly. Thank you for bringing that up. With that, I think we're about at our time. So let's start with Colleen. Where can people find you, Colleen, both online and in, meet space, as they say, in the real world?
You can find out about Marketing Matters at marketingmatters.net. We are on all the social media outlets as well. My personal Twitter is @ColleenL. I'll be at CEDIA with many clients this year. And I'd love to meet up with anybody who would like to at CEDIA.
Fantastic. Thanks for coming on the show. We appreciate having you.
Thanks for having me, Dawn and Kelly.
And Lindsay, thank you for coming on the show and giving us your insights on this topic and giving me a cool new job title to aspire to someday. Lindsay, where can folks find you or Luxel online or again in the real world?
Sure. Yeah, we're at luxel.com and we're on all the major social media channels, and we'll be in the Legrand booth 4301 at CEDIA 2018.
Fantastic. And my lovely co-host Kelly, where can folks find you these days, aside from right here on AVNation?
Twitter handle at NSCA_Kelly. I also run all of the initiatives for the NSCA Foundation. So if you go to the nsca.org/foundation on the website, otherwise NSCA Foundation on Twitter.
Fantastic. And as usual, I'm your host, Dawn Mead, and you can find me here at avnation.tv. You can also find me on most of the major social media topics at AVDawn. And in the real world, I work for some little company that does some, military stuff, so I won't talk about that. But I do appreciate you guys spending some time with us today here on avnation.tv and AVSocial. Thanks.